Gather some basic art supplies such as a watercolor pad, some watercolor crayons or paints, and some water-soluble pens. I found a really cool image in a magazine. I saved it from, believe it or not, 2012. It was a Sephora ad, and I just loved the picture, the facial expression of this model. It was so full of joy. I loved the pops of color, the red against the black and white wrapped gifts, and her bows and ribbons and her hair. So I selected this image, and it's going to be the focal point or inspiration. I went ahead and just cut that out and laid it kind of to look for placement on my journal page. Right now I am grabbing my water-soluble crayons. I love using these. They're so simple, and just kind of testing colors to see what I want to use just as the backdrop for this magazine image. Before I add my color, I grab a big brush Pitt pen and just draw a border. I'm looking at the image for placement, then grabbing those crayons and randomly placing the color down on the paper. This is how the paper looks with the color laid over it dry. Get a cup of water and a watercolor brush, or in my case I'm using just a simple foam brush. If your space that you're painting is larger, the foam brush should work fine. Just be careful not to add too much color initially. Err on the side of caution so that it blends well and doesn't become a muddled black mess. You just, when you're working with a lot of colors, just go light and blend. As you can see, I'm using a cloth to kind of absorb that extra water on my brush. And then just have fun and watch what appears. After using a foam brush, and of course you could see my fingers for some blending, I do pull in a smaller paintbrush to further blend the colors and work on those edges for blending as well. Okay, so mixed media can include a tech component, and for this piece I wanted to add some meaningful text. So I just opened a Word doc and picked some font and thought about text that would capture the image. Again, there were some GIFs on that image, so I wanted kind of a rhetorical question. What is the greatest gift of all? Life, for me and for most of us. So I just went ahead and wrote this out. I'm going to print it on my printer, and then I will cut it and adhere it. You'll see that towards the end of the video. Here I'm just using watercolor paints that have a shimmer. I'm just using a watercolor brush and filled the tube with water. That's a great travel brush to use. These are inexpensive paints that you can find at most of your art supply stores or even craft stores. I just wanted to have a kind of a little effervescent edge, so to speak, so I'm just brushing the color on the edge, and also those big brush pens, you can also blend them with the paint. I'm just putting the final touches on the text with some distress ink to tone down that bright white cardstock. I adhere it with a glue stick. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to create art. Bye.